Holy cow, I am frozen. It is bitter cold this morning. We're actually in a polar vortex now, and that's the coldest part of the winter is right now. And I'm actually beginning to wonder why I'm actually out here. At the same time, I'm extremely excited. I got a new tent. It's the RBM Outdoors UP-5 tent, and a brand new tent stove too. And I love tents and I love tent stoves, and this is the Cadillac of both. I can't wait to get it set up. I got to get moving here. Woo-hoo. First thing I'm going to do is lay out an area with my snowshoes. That will get really hard in about an hour or so. There's too much snow here to dig up, about 3 feet or so. And I'm just going to sleep right on top of the snow. Now, of all the winter tents I've ever been in, a lot, I've never had one that had a floor in it. This one not only does it have a floor, but I got the insulated floor that goes underneath it too. So this is going to be a whole new experience for me. And even though it's about minus 26 degrees Celsius, minus 37 I think now with the wind chill, this is still pretty pliable. Usually stuff like this cracks at this temperature. Now this insulated floor got 3 layers. There's a layer of nylon here, a layer here, and in the inside there's this insulating cloth that provides the most heat. So that's a footprint right there, and you won't see this. Now my tent's going to go right on top of that, and the tent poles actually fit right in slots all around the perimeter of this, and that's what keeps this all down in place. I had to change a GoPro battery already. This is the carrying bag for the tent, and you would not believe the amount of things that are inside of this bag. I honestly don't know how they got it all stuffed in there. I took this out once in a nice warm garage and spread everything out and had a look at it. Set up the tent real quick and just took it down. But this is my first test out in the extreme cold like this. So this is actually a door. I'll show you that in a few minutes. And here's the tent. I'm having a hard time keeping my floor from blowing up with all the wind. The wind is supposed to be 55 kilometers an hour today. 3 nice straps to keep it together and keep it compressed to put it back in the bag. I'm finally starting to warm up a little bit. My mouth is kind of frozen just the same. You can't get your words out right. Your lips don't work. So this tent is actually a pop-up tent, and it works just like a giant umbrella. I'll go ahead and just show you from the outside what it looks like going up. Then I'll take you on the inside and show you how it works in there. So now I got it laid out like that. I'm just going to crawl in through one of the doors and get inside and push up that spring, that umbrella effect. Now, I'm not going to lie, I practiced that a couple of times in a warm garage. It's a little harder this morning, but still manageable. But I think it's one of those things, perfect your technique. Let me show you how it works. So here's like the stem, top of the umbrella. There's your pole. That comes off in a second. Part here, I'll pull it down. Hand starts collapsing. You put your hand there and you kind of push up and pull down at the same time. There you go. I found it a little easier by actually, with my deerskin gloves on, I can hold on the pole up a little further, choke it up a bit. That way your arm's not so far apart, you get a bit of a better lever. So hold that up here somewhere and then pull. Just gives you that, a bit more strength in your arms. So when your tent's up in place, you just unscrew this pole, get that out of the way, and then you replace it with this. This locks your roof up in place. There you go. Now that thing can't slip down. Now I was a little proactive and I put a couple loops up here on one of the walls so I wouldn't lose this pole. Now I'm going to spread out the corners of these walls and pop them right down into the insulated floor. There you go. All the way around. There you go. Man, this thing is huge. I've had 3 smaller tents and I can never get enough room inside of a hot tent especially if it's a good one that heats efficiently. But this one is huge. It's like 14.5 feet from side to side. And I'm going to show you a whole bunch of cool things with this tent a little later on. But right now, it's too cold to stop. I'm going to get the wood stove in there. And it'll be the first time I started it. So this stove comes in a box, and it also comes with a bag. But when I'm traveling long distances with the Skidoo, I kind of want to keep it inside of a box like this to protect it. Comes with a fireproof blanket to put underneath the stove. Also comes with a couple of extra gaskets for the door in case the other one fails after a while or whatever. I'll show you what these things are for after. Even got a pair of gloves in there. So this is where the stove goes. They actually have a piece of a fireproof blanket all the way up here, and the stove jack for the pipe is right up here, which will open up in a couple minutes. The snow is starting to stiffen up underneath now, but where we are on snow, I always take a little thin piece of plywood with me so I can place the stove on here and it's on something solid. There's no chance of it tipping, you know, legs going down the snow or whatever. And this is their latest stove, and you just simply have fold out legs. There's a little button release here that locks it in place. You press in and you fold the leg out. And now it's locked in place that way. Just look at this cool setup on the door here, like that. Stove pipes are all inside. It's cold, cold, cold. Even got a little shovel there for ashes. Now I also noticed they got a little ash tray down here too. You clean the ashes out of your stove, put them in there with that shovel. And I guess as an added safety measure, if you're actually putting wood in the stove, you can pull that out just in case some embers were to come flying out or whatever. And before I actually light this stove, I'm going to go out and anchor down some key points to the tent because it is really windy out. The last thing I want is to get that stove going and the tent start to topple over. That would be disastrous. One of them, for sure, right behind this stove to kind of keep that wall back there. Now inside this bag, there's a whole pile of like ice picks or ice screws. You could just anchor this tent right into the ice. And we don't have ice here today. If you're sitting in a place where there's no snow, you could always use these pegs right here to anchor down into. And those aren't long enough for the snow we have today either. There's a little side pocket here inside of this big bag with some ropes and stuff in it, look, that we're going to use to tie off the tent with today. They also got this cool hammer slash multi-tool, comes with the kit. Now that's for primarily for, you know, tapping down those stakes and that in the ground, hard ground, and for taking them out, especially designed for that. But also here in the handle, there's like a knife and a can opener. Oh, there's even a little wood saw there to get you out of a bind, you know? And it locks in place, it's sturdy. Press the button to unlock it, put it back in place. That's a pretty big knife there. So, the beautiful thing about this tent is you can use it in the summertime, fall, spring, whatever. It's completely sealed in, no mosquitoes getting in. So there are, like, there's literally dozens of places you can tie off this tent. You can tie it off in any of the corners down here. There's more flaps up here you can tie off on. These poles here, these rigid poles, they're pretty supportive anyway. I think I'll leave them today. The places I'll focus on are in this slack point in between those two poles. That's a good place. And that one there is actually right behind the wood stove. And as luck should have it, nature has something for us to tie off right there. Yeah, that wind's picking up pretty good. Just gonna tie it off with a half hitch here right on the tent first. Right around the old tree here. And this is my favorite knot for tying off any tents. You make a loop right here. You go inside of this loop twice. Once, twice. Then you come back outside, back here, and go in through a loop right here. Pull it tight. Now you have a tensioning knot there. And what that does, you can pull this as tight as you want it, and it won't slip back this way until you take the tension. You take the tension on it here, it'll let you come back. But on its own merit, it stays really tight. Now on this side of the tent, there's no trees until way back there, 25 feet away. So too much snow here to put any ice screws in the ground. So I'll just grab a long pole, long stick, stick it down the ground in the angle, and tie right off to that. All right, I got her all tied off. Every one of those slack points the whole way around. I feel good about this now. Come on with the wind now. Doesn't really matter. Here's the wall behind the wood stove. And you can, if in summertime you don't need a wood stove, you can leave this just like this, of course. But this is Velcro on. And the stove jack, pipe jack, is right underneath it there. How cool is that, eh? You just roll that right up out of the way, toggle it in place, and put your chimney right up through there. Likewise inside, we got to open up this and toggle it up out of place. Okay, I cheated a little bit. I found that those things were a bit too tight and my fingers are really cold now, so I couldn't get the toggles in there. So I just took some paracord and made the loops of it out a little further. There we go. A lot better. Still really snug up in place. All right, let's get this chimney up in place. So this is the top section, and this is a bit of a spark deflector, you know. So the sparks will come up there, and they won't just go flying out the top. You know, they'll kind of filter their way through the side. So it's a bit of an arrestor, I guess, you know. The other ones just fit together. This is about a little over 3-inch pipe. Okay, this part here got to be put on outside because those little tie down loops right there, a little too wide for the opening there. So I'll just stick the remaining pipe out, stick it on outside. Bob's your uncle. Like a glove. Woohoo, I love it. Oh yeah, I'm happy with that. So these two side shields are heat deflectors and glass protectors. I gotta see the glass on this stove when I light it up, so I'm definitely taking off both sides. And they're just kept in there with wing nuts like that, and those things just slide out like that, eh? Front and back. And look at that, guys. Two of the sides have glass, and even the front has a glass view as well. Oh man, cannot wait to get it going. Okay, I must admit, this is probably the most excited I've been today. I'm going to make some splits and we're going to get this fire going. It's going to be the first burn. I got to leave all the doors open, and I just got to let it burn, you know, steady for an hour to get all the chemicals and stuff off. But it's going to be fun watching it burn, so I brought a little bit of wood with me to get me started, but then I got to go cut some more. Nice little locking mechanism there, eh? Springs there to keep from burning your hands. Same here on the damper. I'm going to keep that one open wide there now. You can close it right off there just by twisting it, but keep it wide open now until she warms up. Now I know some of you are already questioning, like I did, why this stove is shaped like this with the pipe in the front as opposed to the back. We're used to seeing long tent stoves, pipe in the back, straight up from there. It's because this is not an average stove. This is a stove that's designed with a baffling system, which is way more efficient. A typical stove would have the fire and the smoke and the heat coming back and straight up the chimney. This one is designed so it burns there, and the heat and the smoke comes up about there and comes back through a baffling system to the top, and then up the pipe. So what in essence is happening is you are trapping all of that heat in here 2-3 times as long as a standard stove with the pipe just backed up there. Not only that, but when it comes back up here and it kind of gets trapped up in this upper chamber, the heat from this part of the stove actually causes a secondary burn of whatever smoke and stuff that's left up here. So that way you're maximizing the combustion. It can't get any more efficient than that. Another good thing about the pipe being on the front of this stove is that it's further away from the back of the tent. And even another reason it's good is because where it's out here, this pipe is really long. And so if you had that going out through a stove jack right there, it would be very unstable. So picture this being the stove pipe. If I tried to hold this on down here, it'd be very easy to tip over. But if I expand that reach and hold on to up here, now I have it very, very secure. The same thing is happening with this stove pipe in the positioning it has right now. Pretty keen. Now notice I'm after bringing in some snow on my boots here. The floor is actually zippered on down here. So I'm thinking if I just push it off to the side, I could get a dustpan if I wanted to. Or I can just push it to where the zipper is and just scooch it out that way. But I'm standing here now with that door open and that door open. And you would not believe, even right now at a little far in, how much heat is being generated in here. It's been about 10 minutes and I noticed that the color has changed on the stove. That's one of the first things you got to look for. The pipe is starting to change color. So while that's taking place, let's have a look at some other things on the tent here. We got lots of wall pockets. I think there's about 20 of these all around the tent. There's also hooks on every pole. Nice and sturdy. Up top, we have the drying screen up there. You get something wet. Put your mitts or your hat or stuff up there, your socks. Hooks going all the way around here too, for your lanterns or anything you want to hook up there. You got 2 windows that zip open. And this is cool. One layer, then you have a screen. Open up your screen. If you look inside here, this is how this tent works. This is a double layered tent, by the way. And that's why it keeps the heat in like it does. All this hot air is going to be in here. It's going to be really hot in here. It's going to sneak out and absorb, penetrate through, and it's going to get trapped in this outer layer out here. So this is going to act like an invisible insulating wall all the way around the tent. So even if the stove goes out, you still got a little bit of time because you got that warm air pocket trapped out here as well. That'll also help with condensation because you haven't got really hot air striking really cold air, and that forms condensation. Now you've got this natural buffer, hot air, warm air, cold air outside. Now this is actually a window to the outside. Open up that one. Now this is Velcroed in place. You can change this and put a window there. It comes with the kit. So I see you got to roll that up in place. It stays in place. Just roll it up and toggle it off. There we go. Now we can see the beautiful sunshine and that bright blue sky. Even down that low, look, it's 10 degrees Celsius. 2 doors wide open. Now you want to get some fresh air into this window. Little mechanisms here, that little poles, like short poles with Velcro on them. You just put that right on the Velcro right there. And now you got nice fresh air coming in through here. Speaking of fresh air, right in beyond the stove here, there is a fresh air intake as well. That way the stove always has a constant feed of fresh air. And that's important to reduce or stop any carbon monoxide buildup in here. I see the flame pretty good through the side. The fire is not as hot as it can get yet. I would suspect that once it gets warm enough, it'll burn off all this remaining creosote there. So remember earlier on, I showed you this door. It's actually folded up. There you go. Now we have a door. We have a swinging door in this tent. Come on. On the hinge part of the door, if you will, there's a big, long, strong strip of Velcro. And that goes right here. And you just Velcro it right in place. Now normally there's a zipper door and a screen door here. You just take those and you toggle them back out of the way. And there we go, right there. There's actually a little catch there for the 2 corners of the door, top and bottom, so it locks in place. Oh, you can put a lot of wood in here. I hope you can see it. That's the actual gasket that's around the door. And when you close that door, I can feel it. That lock kind of draws it tight. So it's a really good seal. A lot of the issues I've found over the years with tent stoves, especially if they tend to warp a bit and air gets around the door, you lose all control of heat regulation then. Your stove just overruns, burns all your wood, makes it 1,000 degrees inside the tent. Totally uncomfortable. A stove like this will stop that completely. Now, I questioned why there was no damper in the pipe, but because of the baffling system and this particular air intake system right here, damper, I'm told that you can just tone that down so low that you do not even need the damper in the pipe. That remains to be seen as the night goes by. All right, I've got to go knock down some dead trees for some firewood for tonight. Managed to get the saw going, blade won't turn around. I gotta heat it up with the exhaust on the snowmobile. Alrighty then. Oh, that feels good. Now it's starting to feel like home. Look at that, look. Whew. I literally got to open the door here. It's ridiculously hot now. Ridiculously warm. Alright, let's tone her down a bit. Just like that. Now I tell you what, there's a lot of heat coming off that stove, radiating strongly, but I can touch those springs and they're actually just like cool to the touch. So all the crease soot is burned off of this side, still a little bit on the other side. I guess that changes as the day or the night goes by, and what kind of wood you're burning and stuff. Oh my, first cup of coffee. Well, I've had the stove going now 2.5 hours. There's no smell left to it whatsoever. I feel pretty good about this. I'm going to finish off this cup of coffee and I'm just going to lie back on my sleeping bag for a bit and read a book. Hard work is done today. Got my wood cut, everything is set up. I enjoyed it. It was a great day. Next shot will be supper. And supper is gonna be delicious. How good is life? How good is life? I think I got about a half a page read in my book before I dozed off. It was just so comfortable after all day, and I guess the heat got in my bones and la la land. Anyway, it's supper time now. I am starved. Oh boy. Oh, starting to smell good already in here. Just waiting for my onions and stuff to fry out there, and I'm just kind of looking around, and I'm pretty pleased with the day, you know. I'm pretty pleased with this tent. It's a very high-end tent. Everything is perfect in order. It's made to be used in these conditions. There's no doubt. And you know, when I was considering this tent, I reached out to my buddy Jay Legier. I'm sure every one of you guys watch him. Fantastic YouTuber. My favorite. He's been here, stayed with me at my cabin. Just a generally good guy. Anyway, he has one of these tents. I reached out to him and I said, Jay, I'm considering, you know, trying one of these RBM Outdoor UP-5 tents. What do you think? And he was like, go for it. And then I went back to him and I said, well, I already have a couple tents, right? Why would I want another tent? His answer was swift and short. He said, Chuck, a man can never have too many tents. And here we are. Thanks, Jay, buddy. Anyway, when all this stuff fries up a little more, I'm going to throw in my moose steak. Do you guys call it supper? We call it supper here. I drink 1 cup of chaga tea every day. I pick right from the birch trees myself. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Get a bit of this goodness here. Put that piece of meat on there. Look at that. Sweet mercy. Mmm. Tastes like a $500 steak. Although I've never had a $500 steak. But I think if I ordered one, this is what it would taste like. Mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. That should be enough for tonight. Got a few splits in case the fire dies down too low or goes out altogether. I hope not. I'm going to stock her up now and hit the bunk. I usually just use my jacket. It's nice and puffy like a pillow. Nice and warm, down-filled jacket. I want to look for the biggest junks that I can fit in there. Nice round junks, they last longer. Cool little bug out kits that velcro to the wall. There's one for there and one for that wall as well. I'm just going to hook up this one for tonight. It's right over my bunk, which is perfect. I can put my phone or headlamp up there now, and I can just reach up in the middle of the night if I got to get up. I also got a carbon monoxide and smoke detector. It's designed to be at this height. Put it right in there. This is ventilated. It's much too hot here now. I like it about 12-15 degrees. So I got to shut the damper down and get that fire to calm down a little bit. Just watch the control over this damper now. I'll open it up and you watch the wood inside. Instantly it ignites. Look. Turn it back down. And it mellows right out again. Oh, like a thermostat. I just shut her down and see how it's recapturing and burning the gas. I own a wood stove that has a catalyst in it. And this is acting just like it. Isn't that cool? Well, folks, we'll see you in the morning when it's coffee time. Oh boy, good morning. Great morning. Bare feet. Walking around the tent. Never happened before. And warm to the touch. I'm going to bring my thermometer outside to see what it is, but I know it's intensely cold. Oh man. Oh. I just recently installed a block heater in my Skidoo, and this is a good morning to test it out. It is so cold. It's working 420 watts. Let that run for an hour or so now before I try her. First sip of coffee in the morning is priceless, isn't it? Full disclosure on last night, I had truthfully an amazing sleep. First couple of hours, I woke up once and glanced at the stove because I really didn't know what to expect because I don't know this stove yet, right? But when I went 2 hours in before I put any wood in the first time, and I could barely get any wood in there. And it was a perfect temperature inside the tent. The floor was warm, completely foreign to me. The next time I went 3 hours and 45 minutes, and there were still tons of coals inside the stove. I have never experienced that before. Usually with a tent stove, especially if you got a cheaper one, you're up every hour sometimes, and then it gets hot, cold. It was like 16 degrees Celsius or so, and it stayed at that temperature the whole night. It was as comfortable of a sleep as if I was home in my cabin. And by the way, for you guys who don't know, I live completely off-grid in a log cabin that I built myself. And you know, I was thinking this morning, as it was so comfortable, like I was comparing it to my cabin, and I questioned myself again, why even come out in a tent like this? You already live in the woods, Chuck. There's something about being in the woods, but there's something about that sense of, I don't know, primitive survival or something. I don't get it, but those of you who do this kind of stuff understand what I mean. Bacon. Never go wrong with bacon. And you know, I was going to take this down today, pack it up, bring it home, but I think that I'm comfortable enough with it already that I'm just going to leave it out. And I want it to get snowed on. And I want it to experience a lot of wind and storms. And when that stuff happens, I'm going to come back and check on it. And I'm going to stay here when that stuff is happening. I think this would be an awesome place to sleep in like a huge snowstorm or a blizzard. Let's go out and check the engine temperature. Haha, 9 degrees Celsius. Wonderful. That works awesome. This shall start with ease. Well guys, that's it for me. A successful night in the new tent. Love the experience. Remember, if you guys want to experience this too, you can contact RBM Outdoors. Use my code and you'll get a savings on top of whatever price they offer you on the website. Stay tuned to extra videos shown in this tent. And until the next video, take care of each other, get outside and enjoy everything outdoors. And we'll see you next time. Guaranteed.
Get outside and enjoy everything outdoors. Get outside and enjoy